Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Albers, and welcome to This Week in Anderson on Dingo and the Coach. I am Dingo, and that is the coach. And we're here on USBN Sports. And, always, Steve, it's just always a great time to catch up with guys and people. And this guy we have on tonight is Tim Henke, and former classmate of ours. And it's awesome to finally catch up with him. And, man, I'll tell you what, boy can play some soccer.
Oh, there's no question of that. The thing about Tim that everybody needs to know is that not only was he a great soccer player, but a great person and great in the classroom too, which
Yeah.
we're going to talk about, what he does for a living when we get through it. But I'm glad to talk to Tim on the camera, off the camera, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, and I'm going to get into this a little bit later. I'll start with this, but Tim, we really appreciate you joining us. I know it's been a while to catch up, but thanks again for joining us.
No, I mean, it's great to be here. As we said, it's great to catch up. And because Dan, I don't think I've seen, maybe since high school. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
We've been way too long. And Tim, I was going to bring something up, and I don't know if you remember this, but I think that when I first started playing soccer was with the Convenient Sharks. I think you were on that team. I think I might even have a picture. And my hair, I did have hair. And Steve, I had my hair like
Stop. Just stop.
the old Convenient Sharks, baby.
It was the Convenient Sharks. Yeah. Wow. I forgot. Thinking back, maybe I do remember that picture. I don't know. I'm sure it's somewhere.
I will find that, and I'll text it. I'll send it to you. It's pretty.
Do you have your glasses on?
No glasses at the time. No glass. I didn't wear those big black glasses at
Bernie
the time.
Douglas.
Yeah. I think my hand might have got up too, so I was the only one that screwed the picture up. But
Unbelievable.
Sharks. With Steve, we were just all the teams.
Yeah.
If we would have played you, we probably would have beat you. I mean.
Okay. Keep talking.
Let's go back to let's talk about growing up in Anderson and what that was like, and let's talk about growing up, the guys you hung around with, and what side you grew up in Anderson.
Yeah, well, I was in Summit, not too far from you.
There it is, Steve.
Unbelievable. What street were you on, Tim?
What's that?
You were on.
I started out on Summit Ridge,
yeah,
just off 8 Mile there. So I was there till about 5th grade. Then we moved up to Den Allen. So
okay,
Summit Ridge, we lived across from the Johnsons, next to the Harrises.
Yeah,
Soccer players there. And then we moved up across from the Dianas. So
the Dianas, jeez,
street from the Coolmans.
It's oh my God, it's unbelievable. I mean, this show needs to be. It's the sum of the states. Where are they now? Because every guy, every person we interview is from some of the states, except for me.
Well, and Stevie, that's because it was the better side. I mean,
that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. So, Tim, what sports did you play growing up?
We started soccer when we were, I don't know, we were probably 5 back then, 6, 7. I did play baseball. I swam. I played tennis. I didn't play much basketball when I was younger, when I was real young, but got into that a little toward high school. And eventually, though, that's sort of when club was getting going back in the days.
Yeah.
And then we started playing all year long indoor during the winter. So you kind of funneled away from all the different sports, which is kind of a drag, which happens nowadays. And then it just became soccer starting. Sometime in middle school, probably.
So going back to your youth teams, do you remember some of the coaches you had and some of the players that you played with that we might recognize some of those names?
Well, the great Dan Albers back in the day with the Convenient Sharks.
Okay.
I think he's probably our leading scorer.
I'm surprised I played.
I don't know, Dan, was that the team with we had parent coaches obviously back then. Gosh, I don't know. My dad did some. Mr. Burdick, was he the coach of that team?
Okay.
I know your dad did. I'm pretty sure your dad did.
Was that the team with Reed Johnson and
were
Sean and Ty Burdick were on that team?
I don't know if Ty was on that team, but I know we did have some older guys on the team that.
Yeah, we were several years apart, but I know Sean because Mr. Burdick coached it, and Sean there, Reed. It was everything was more local. That was back. That was a Summit team, I think.
It was,
right.
Yep, it was.
Yeah, and then played there a few years, and then we went to that was Passers, and we went to Wings, and
that's right.
I'm trying to think. You guys have talked to
saying
people.
that right, Tim. Just saying it right there. Passers win.
I know.
Just
I know.
how we had to go.
It makes me want to pull up like the Mount Washington, not Journal, Mount Washington. What was it? Press. Yeah.
Yeah.
And look for the scores in there.
There you go. Yeah. Wings. That I don't know. You guys interview people not necessarily from Anderson, right? So some of these people, see, Harry Furman, Tom Furman's dad was coach there. Case Coolman was on the team.
Remember him?
I'm trying to think. And then it became club, and that's when we went to the club. And again, a parent coach. We didn't have the trainers like they do now. So Jared became the coach of our club team, the Queen City Musketeers.
Queen City. Okay.
Yeah, we were. 1967. We were the 1967 team, and we were about the third or fourth team. It started around 65, I think. There might have been. I don't think there was an older team. So that's back when everything was getting started. Had the parent coach, and we had him for a long time. Then we just did club all year round until we got to high school, and we did club in the spring.
Yeah. Well, did you have any siblings, Tim?
A sister is 2 years younger.
2 years younger.
Shelly,
okay. I mean, the reason why I asked is because like when I grew up, like you said, soccer was just starting to come on, and I'm the youngest of four, and none of them played soccer because it wasn't even really here yet. So that's why I was asking if you had any older siblings, because it was just starting to come on. When we were starting to get through the elementary years.
Yeah, I don't know why I started playing. I'm sure my parents didn't play, or didn't know much about it, so they just signed me up, I guess, and it went from there.
Yeah. All right. Well, so let's get into high school, because unfortunately they didn't have soccer at the great Anderson Middle School that we went to.
Kroger's.
That's Kroger's. That's right. So we get into high school and talk about the coaches you played for, and then some of the guys you played with, and you got to move up onto the varsity because you had such talent. We had a lot of talent in the class, but you were head and shoulders above everybody else, and the other guys were just fast and dumb. But you were the smart and talented.
No, we had some good guys. Our year. When we were sophomores, I mean, Anderson was good. Anderson was the place to be for soccer back in the day. So it wasn't easy to break on as a freshman or sophomore. But my sophomore year, Bob Philpott was the coach.
Right.
Rob Philpott, and he. So it was me, Ted Benedetto, Mike Woodruff, and I think Brian Tholke played keeper that year. So four of us played varsity, and that was a team. I mean, we were good. We were. I don't know if we were ever number one. We might have been number one in the city, but it was us, X, and Forest Park.
Yeah.
Because we had the guy like Reed Johnson. I believe he was probably an All-American. I think he was an All-American there. And
Yep.
His class was really good. Larry Randall, Larry Ayer, Dave Carroll, Jamie McClellan. We had some big guys on that team too. Yeah. I didn't grow till I was past a sophomore year, so I was a little guy on the team.
Yeah.
So those were the seniors that year.
That was a really good time. I remember watching it. I mean, we were thinking, man, these guys should be playing football.
Yeah. It was always nice having those guys as buddies in the school. And you got Jamie walking down the hall, and Jamie was huge.
Yeah.
But we did well. We had I don't know how many losses we had. I know we lost to X in the district finals, maybe whatever level that was there.
Yeah.
But we had a good season. Did well, and just didn't. I mean, that was sort of our story. We never achieved what we could have or should have.
Right. Yeah. Well, I just remember like the St. X games, and you guys knew more about this, and Brian Sullivan would tell me about this, and Gary guys, with like those games. If there's 22 guys on the field, 15 of them between Anderson and St. X lived in Anderson Township.
Yeah, because my club team, the Musketeers, we had, if you would have it was all, even the club teams back then, the club teams were more narrowly focused. So our entire club team early on was from Anderson, with a few guys scattered about. And we had, the top guys from X on our team, the top guys from McNick, top guys from Turpin.
Yeah.
So if everybody would have gone to Anderson or Turpin, it would even been crazier.
How good we would have been. Yeah. So okay, so then your junior year, is that when Herman's came in?
Yeah, Philpott left and Jack Hermans came in, and it was, quite a contrast. I don't know if you guys remember the two, and in their styles, where and that's what always made me nervous. I was just a sophomore. I was quiet. I was always pretty quiet. And you show up at practice and you got him screaming and yelling, and again, you got the seniors on the team, or just big guys that've been around for a while. And,
right.
And then Hermans comes in and he's just he wasn't necessarily quiet, but he was low key. And he didn't scream much, although there's a few times I can remember him going off. And the training was different. With Philpott, our sophomore year, we'd show up for the summer training, and I don't remember the rules back then, but I think you couldn't use a ball for a certain amount of time, and we'd have 3-a-days, and it would all be running. There'd be no ball; it would just be running. Really? And then and Hermans didn't necessarily believe in the running as much. He believed that you got in shape by playing and training with the ball. Right. So it was a totally different philosophy. And Hearn's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
He came from the Netherlands and was Dutch over there. So he had a totally different style, but he was, a great coach. He really knows his stuff. He's still coaching.
Yeah.
So big in the club.
So then we get into like senior year, and all the guys in our grade that were unbelievable at soccer. Just name some of the guys that were on your team.
Yeah, well, the junior year first, that's when we were good. I think we were ranked 3rd in the city, so we were good. But still, I think we lost to X again in whatever the district finals were. Back then, they always used to be at the home field of the higher seeds team, so we always had to go to X. Okay. Nowadays, you get to that 2nd round or 3rd round, you're at a neutral site, so we always had to go there. But that year was, guys who at least played some college soccer were Johnny Withrow, Billy Dayton. I remember, again, Casey Coleman, Mark McKee, Joe Kelly. Those guys were on the team. Tom Corona.
Chris Thorson, what he played, a soccer player?
Yeah, Chris was there. I forgot about Chris. He was a year older than us. And there's guys I'm forgetting too, just because I'm trying to think of them offhand. But we and then our senior year, that's when we expected to do well. And we did. We were number 1 in the city the entire year. And we were unanimous votes. Our only loss during the season was to Centerville, who was number 1 in Dayton. We lost to them 1-0.
I thought you guys, because I remember painting our faces and going crazy and going down to Brown Stadium. Was that your junior year or senior year that you played St. X down at?
That was probably senior year, because
Did you beat them?
We tied them.
You tied him. Okay.
We tied him 4-4. It was crazy, I think.
Wow.
I remember going nuts at that game and being in that front row, just being absolutely.
Yeah,
stupid.
It was fun. Those guys, we used to move those down to Brown Stadium instead of playing up top behind the middle school because of the crowds.
Yeah.
And we had big ones for X, Turpin, Centerville. But we did. We did tie them. So we had a few ties that year.
Yeah.
We beat everybody else. We were number 1. So we went into the tournament number 1 seed, and not just thinking we were going to do well, but planning on potentially, winning state.
Yeah.
And it didn't go as planned.
Did you lose? I can't remember. Did you guys lose early in the tournament, or was it?
We lost our 2nd game down at Brown Stadium to Turpin. We had beat them twice during the season. Back then, you played the teams twice during the season. Your league teams twice. So we had beat them twice during the season. We played them. Still a little sore subject. But we played them. We lost in sudden death overtime.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was Jimmy Diana had mono, I remember, and was playing. It wasn't the greatest situation. So.
Oh man.
And to lose in sudden death, now they call it golden goal. But that's about the worst way. It's worse than PKs, because you go from thinking that hey, we're still going to win this game, and then boom, no, you're not, you're done, and it's over. What
was the final then? Was it? Do you remember? I think
it was just 2-1.
2-1. God.
I think it was 1-1 going into overtime, I'm pretty sure it was. We yeah, it was disappointing. There were 3 minutes left, I think. Then we would have gone to PKs.
Did Turpin end up going far that year or no? Or
I don't
remember?
no, not that year. I don't think. That was the first time. I think that was the first time Anderson's ever lost to Turpin in soccer.
Really?
Is that right? Wow.
Now things changed, and I might be wrong, but I think it might have been. There were a lot of ties. I mean, we had games my sophomore year down there. They were always at Brown Stadium, so it was never you never really got a home game back then
Right,
because
Yeah.
Turpin played there, and there were games that were ended early. I think it was my sophomore year because it was Philpott because I think he threw a garbage can out on the field and so the ref
Oh,
ended the game early. It was
oh my
crazy.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
that's nuts.
And nowadays that would be written up and
Oh,
be
yeah.
articles about it and
Suspensions and yeah.
That's
So,
crazy. So
Tim,
when you played, like, so we were just talking about like Saint X, McNick, Turpin. Like, was I always when we always it was always McNick and Turpin. Back then, it was a lot different than it is now. McNick is not in the mix as much anymore. Do you feel like that was like the games that you guys always got geared up for? Was that, or was it those Saint X's and the Forest Park, or was it pretty much all? I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, you think it was?
It varied a little bit year to year, but what you find back then, it's still a little similar to what it is now. X always has a lot of guys that go there, so they're always pretty good. Turpin is pretty decent most of the time, up and down. It's a big rivalry, so you know how that goes. It doesn't necessarily matter if one of you is better than another. It's just a big game. But yeah, we would, and our league was really good back then. We had, at least my senior year, I remember we had us and Sycamore. There might have been 4 or 5. Well, probably 3 of the top 10 or top 5 teams were in our league. Us, Sycamore. I don't remember where Turpin was. Forest Park was good up until shortly after I left, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, and those games were huge.
Yeah, they were big games. I remember the games with McNick, a couple of McNick games, and Sean Schaefer playing for McNick, and he was one of those guys. He didn't care for me too much because I was down there screaming and yelling and kind of getting in his face, and he didn't like
because
that
he was good.
He was
He
real
led the
good,
city in scoring.
and he was cocky. He's very cocky.
Yeah.
That's funny, Tim. Is we run into each other because his son played football at Anderson, and his son was a pretty good football player, and we talk about that. We brought that up that he couldn't stand because I was over there screaming and yelling and pointing at him.
Yeah, his dad lives right up the street from me here.
Yeah. He's a good soccer player, man. They were good too back in the day. McNick was really good.
Yeah, McNick had some players from our club team were there. Sean was a year younger, so he was on the club team a year younger than us.
Yeah.
With Jimmy, we had younger guys too that helped out that senior year. Jimmy Diana, Mark Lobring. Again, I'm sure there were more.
Did Johnny Diana?
Sully was our goalie. He was our
Johnny
age.
Diana play too? Was
Johnny did, yeah. He played that freshman year and then he quit to play football.
Yeah.
I don't think he played any more soccer after that.
Yeah.
I tried to explain to people, Tim, about playing soccer. Like my daughter played soccer at Anderson a couple years ago, and trying to explain the difference with the turf that's there now as opposed to the half moon shaped field. Like when you're taking corner kicks and you couldn't see the bottom half of the goal from kicking the corner kicks.
Yeah, and we played up top with the baseball field was on the soccer field.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, but you guys played football there, and it was the same deal. Played in the mud and
that wasn't a good. It was funny, Tim, is that back in the day, obviously football was not the big deal like it was for soccer. We couldn't. We were trying to get some of you guys to come on over and play, but I don't think Stowe did a good job.
Yeah, it would have been. I don't know. Sometimes you think back, hey, maybe we should have done something like that. If I would have been as good at some of those things I was in soccer, I probably would have had a little different career path after.
Well, let's talk about that, Tim, because you had a great career at Anderson, and you don't get the credits that's due, and we've talked about that you should have been All-American, and the powers that be are going to know this, and we're going to make sure of that. Because I firmly believe, and Danny, you can speak. You talked to Sully about his thoughts on Tim. What did he say?
Yeah, and Sully he said that there's no doubt about it. You're one of the best soccer players in Anderson high school history. One of the top 5, if not, that you didn't get the acknowledgement that you probably should have, and Sully was very praising you a lot and just saying how great of a soccer, and we know it. I mean, we were there, we got to see it. So, and I agree. I mean, it's stinks what we found out about that, but just the way you played, it was awesome to watch.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate hearing it. It was fun.
Yeah. Well, we got to get you in the Hall of Fame is what we got to do.
That's right.
All right. So let's talk about your next stage. So after playing at Anderson, was your thoughts on wanting to continue to play in soccer in college? Was there recruiting going on, and where did you end up?
Yeah, I mean, recruiting was different back then. Obviously, no internet, no email, nothing. Everything was by mail, and I had sort of planned on going to UC just to pre-med, medical school, that sort of thing. And I was hoping to play soccer. I did get recruited by some other schools, and thinking back, you get these letters and you think, well, Notre Dame and all those stuff. You think, well, hey, maybe I should have acted on that. But I just had my plan, and I was going to go to UC, and well, I'll try out for soccer, but if if I make it. But then the coach called me and offered me a scholarship. So,
oh, wow.
So I went there. It worked out, perfectly, and went there and did pretty well there too. So
nice.
4 years.
So who all played with you at UC that was local?
Well, so it's interesting too, the difference now and between now and then. Back then at UC, I remember my freshman year, we went in there, and when we the tryouts, and once they picked the team, there was only one guy who was from outside Ohio, and he was a keeper. And when he I think he was our 4th string keeper though, and he quit a few weeks into the season, and after that, my entire 4 years there was nobody from outside Ohio on the team.
Wow.
And we were good. We were one of the best teams in Ohio. Back then we never lost to X or Dayton, Wright State, NKU, Ohio State. We never lost to those teams. Tied them sometimes. We never lost.
I believe it. So what position did you play there at UC?
Well, I ended up playing the sweeper my senior year, which is where I was most successful. I played a lot of midfield up until then.
Okay.
And the guy you mentioned, other guys that were local from Cincinnati. Just my year with me that I went through when I went there. There was a guy named Jeff Miller from Centerville. I became good friends with. Mike Pugh went to Lakota back when it was just Lakota, not East or West.
Yeah.
I think those were. And there were some guys that only played there a year who were good players and got scholarships, but just didn't pan out. Steve Womack from Indian Hill, Yacht Schmidt from North College Hill, Mark Thiemann and Billy Homer from Elder were on our team the entire 4 years.
So what would you say was the big difference between high school and college as far as playing?
Just the overall level of talent, because in high school you can have good players. That's what made us so good in high school. We had a really solid group, and you can have gaps on your team if you have enough players. But in college, it's everybody's good at every position, so you can't have a weak spot or you're not going to be successful.
So how far did your teams go at UC?
We always had the conference tournament. There weren't as many teams in the NC2A back then. My senior year, we never made the tournament. I can't remember how many teams were in the NC2A tournament. My senior year was the year that best record ever at UC. It still is to this day.
Wow, that's great.
We were considered for the tournament, but we lost in our conference tournament, so ended up not getting invited to the tournament.
Wow.
We had other guys, local guys. We had a couple guys from Turpin. I mean, John Erickson, who was on my club team, he was a year ahead of me. He played 1 year at UC. I didn't play with him there.
Okay.
Ted Whitwer was 2 years older than me from Turpin. Chris Bierman was a year behind, 2 years behind me at Turpin. So we had a few more Turpin guys. It's just I didn't play with any other Anderson. Just as far as how good Anderson was in soccer all those years, not many guys went on to play in college.
Wow. Yeah.
You think that the playing at Anderson, I mean, was it, I know some guys will say that the big difference from college to, but did that high school playing at Anderson kind of help some, or was it,
I think just the level we were at Anderson. Yeah, I think it helped. And the physicality of it back then.
Yeah.
You go to college where most people, I wasn't a big guy. Nowadays to have somebody who's 5'11" playing center back is in a D1 is not too common.
Yeah.
But that's where I played, and it was pretty successful. So, yeah, but it was fun. College soccer was great. If anybody gets the chance.
Oh, well.
Yeah, unfortunately, UC they can't play at UC anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you, I mean, you said you went into the medical field, and that had to have been difficult trying to balance soccer and also studying in the medical field.
Yeah, well, in undergrad's undergrad, so you have to be successful because you have to apply, and so you have to get good grades and do a lot of things and take labs, and I don't know, it was just something you did. I love playing soccer, so I got to go play soccer every day, and then the classes around it. I was never somebody going out on every weekend and doing all that stuff, so it just worked out.
Yeah.
A lot of times we were traveling for soccer,
right?
But you just do your thing and get to play. And, I didn't think of soccer. I mean, everybody talks about you playing a D1 level sport as a full-time job. I mean, it is, but if you're having fun, that's what you enjoy doing.
Yeah,
that's what you get to do. You get to go play soccer every day.
Yeah. Do you still play, Tim?
No, I played. I can't because I just have a bad back, so I can't run around a lot.
Okay.
Plus, you know how old we are. I mean, you go out there with those guys on the basketball court, Steve. You know what happens.
That's what I was getting ready to feel bad if he said you played 3 nights a week.
No, I think Gary Geis. I think he still might play some. I didn't mention him. He was on those teams. Teams in Anderson too. So,
yeah.
But you just did it, and like I said, I had fun, and I don't know. After that, I mean, I continued to play through medical school.
Did you
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I played we had that. I don't know if you remember. There was before the MLS, there was a professional league, the USISL, and it was United States Interregional Soccer League.
Okay.
And it started up in 1994. Yeah, because that's the year I graduated from med school, and it was. I mean, that was it in the United States, and I managed. I didn't know it was coming when I started my 4th year of medical school, but I had intentionally front loaded all my rotations where I had calls and nights and that sort of thing. And then they heard, okay, well, Cincinnati's putting a team in the USISL, and I knew people, and I played, and so the spring of my last quarter of med school, I played. That's when I played in the USISL.
Nice. Yeah. Where would they play those games at?
We played at St. X High School.
Okay.
And we traveled. We played in that league. There were guys because the MLS wasn't there yet. The MLS started in 1996, so this was the league before that. And so guys in that league, a bunch of them went in the MLS. I mean, I played against guys on the national team that went to the national team.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah, no, it was fun, and I got to play for a long time.
That's crazy. Yeah, cool. I don't know if I was just sitting there thinking about this when you were talking about still playing or not. And Steve, I thought you played on this too. Do you remember? Didn't we put like some football guys with some soccer guys, and we played at the Beachmont Racket Club? I thought it was like I thought Sully played and Gary Geis and Tim, and then we had like me and you. I thought you played, Steve. Tom Benassi might have played. We just like put a hodgepodge team together, and I thought it was at Beachmont. It was indoor soccer at Beachmont Racket Club.
I remember we had like an after prom or something there, or something was going on.
No, come on, Steve. After prom at Beachmont Racket Club? Are you serious?
Yes, it was an all-nighter there.
Yeah, I think we did after one of those proms.
Thank you, Tim.
I probably didn't know.
I played there a lot, so maybe.
Yeah, I just remember. I don't know, for some reason I remember that because I do remember. I think I might have got kicked out of that game too. I think probably. Oh, putting someone into the.
Gotta stop bragging.
So
Tim, let's get into what you do now for a living, so everybody knows what you do, and then I want to ask you about your family.
I mean, I'm a physician. I mentioned going to med school, so I do that. And after med school, you go do a residency. I went up to Ann Arbor. I was at the University of Michigan doing a residency in emergency medicine.
Okay.
So I'm board certified in emergency medicine. I worked in the ERs. I came back after I finished my residency to Cincinnati and started working mostly with Tri-Health. I've been at Tri-Health in the emergency departments. I worked there for 20 years, but about about 10 years ago, my kids were playing high level sports and things like that. In the ER, you work nights, weekends, holidays. There's no set schedule. It gets hard. So I started transitioning out. I found an opportunity with Tri-Health in their corporate health division, occupational medicine, doing some stuff with Tri-Health. And I just slowly transitioned out of the ER. I worked my last ER shift in 2017.
Okay.
And since then, I have a pretty much a 9-to-5 job. So it works out with the
Good
kids.
for you. Good for you. So tell us about your kids.
Yeah, I got 3 boys. Again, they all played soccer all through. They started earlier than I did because they started earlier now, and they were all better than I was. Played at Milford High School, and Joshua now. I said we were Michigan people because that's where I went and met my wife, Lisa. She went to University of Michigan. I was up there when I met her, and we had season tickets for the football games for 20 some years. And
wow.
And then come back here and Joshua's a junior at Ohio State, majoring in biomedical engineering, and Ryan's a freshman, sort of health sciences right now. Not sure what he's going to finish in.
Wow.
Nicholas is a
awesome.
sophomore at Milford. So
that's great. So do you still? Okay, well, speaking of that, talking about guys that we went to high school with, you got Gary Geis, I know, is also a physician too, and then I think Rick Sharp's another one. So there's, you talk to those guys much, and anybody else?
I mean, quite often. I mean, Rick lives up in Michigan. So when I was in Ann Arbor, he had gone to Michigan State, did his residency in Michigan State in emergency medicine as well. So we were about an hour and a half from each other. So we saw each other a lot up there. Now he's up in northern Michigan, and I talk to him fairly often. Gary and I just started talking more because we just got Bengal seats this year, and we had Bengal seats next to each other. So
nice.
Gary did pediatrics and then pediatric emergency medicine, so he's at Children's in the ER there.
That's crazy.
We hang out.
Some of the other boys.
Anybody else?
What? I'm sorry.
I said you talked to anybody else that you talked to at Sully or any of those other guys?
Yeah, when Brad Sullivan had his recently, I mean, I got back with Sully some, and we have a chat with all us guys from the high school days. The Nazarenes. Tony Nazarene was back on those soccer teams, and the Gerards. They didn't play soccer, but the Gerards. And,
oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some of those are Rick's on it. Gary, Pat Murphy. Pat Murphy played a little baseball back then, So,
did Murph teach any of your kids?
No, they never.
What did Murph
say? They never lucked out and had Murphy. What?
What does he teach?
I think he's in some special education.
Okay, I didn't know if he was math or something. Yeah.
Murph, I know he directs traffic in the parking lot before school.
He's probably really good at that. Murph.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So let's we try to wrap some of this up, but we always try to end with some of your favorite memories and everything. So let's start with one of your favorite high school memories, and then we'll go to college, and then maybe either you can go with what your kids or favorite coach or teacher. So let's start off with your favorite high school memory.
Oh boy, that's tough. I mean, it's just playing, and how good we were the senior year. Because like I said, being, you think back, how many teams back at Anderson or any level were number one, the entire year. So it was the entire year, just a disappointing ending.
Yeah, unfortunately. What about college?
College. I mean, I guess we're talking sports, so it's a lot better to remember. Again, just how well we did my senior year. And I did get to go to I was all state, first team all state, all Midwest, and I got to go to the Senior Bowl. So, to represent just the Senior Bowl is a big deal, I think, even nowadays. And I was the first player at UC to ever get to go to the Senior Bowl. Wow. And at UC, there's not a huge budget for there wasn't now zero budget for men's soccer, but there always has. So we always drove in vans, and unless we got to go with the girls to a weekend, then we got a bus to share with them. But we drove in vans, and in the Senior Bowl, I got to fly down. They flew me down, gave us shoes, and we didn't get shoes at UC for soccer. And so they gave shoes, jersey, bags, sweats. It was great.
Big time.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And what about a favorite teacher from like Anderson?
Oh boy, put me on the spot.
Throw out some names here, Tim.
Many of them, I don't know how many of them are around since we're so old, I don't know how many of them are around to watch this sort of stuff. But I don't know. You have, gosh, I had to think back. I took German for 4 years, and Herr Williams was my teacher for 4 years.
Okay.
So that always worked out. We had our, I don't know.
Do you have Miss Harris?
Miss Harris, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I ran into her at UC. She was a professor at UC, teaching down there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I saw her down there, but she was tough. She was tough. Yeah. I don't know if she was our favorite because she was hard.
That's crazy.
Danny, did you have Miss Harris?
Steve, come on. I barely made it. I barely made it through high school. Come on now.
I'm flipping through all the teachers now that we had just to science teach.
Sinkovich, Grooms was my favorite. I love Grooms. I had
I mean world history.
Yeah.
Sinkovich got government.
Yeah. He was always those were. And I love Stowe. I just love Stowe. He was just a great guy.
Yeah, I didn't have him, and I didn't play football, so there was no interaction. Who was I just going to say? Andy Wolf. Andy Wolf had him for history. Good guys. You guys might have interviewed him at some point.
We did.
Yeah. Like some of the science teachers, like Hebling.
I'm trying to think. He was a chemistry teacher.
Yep.
Dockery.
Yeah.
Gary Dockery. Mrs. Connors did not like me. That's another one. That's
she was biology, right?
Yes. Good call.
Yeah. There's some good ones, man. I tell you, that's but
Mr.
Tim,
Rust.
Mr. Rust. Yeah.
Clutter was there.
Clutter, good call.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, hey, Tim, was that weird for you? Not weird, I guess, but when your kids were playing against Anderson, did it bring back a lot of memories? I mean, was it like kind of cool to be there and just see?
Yeah, it did. But I mean, you guys, with your kids, once you have kids, it's about your kids. So
right.
It doesn't. Yeah, I did miss doing down. It's all different too because we played a lot at that upper stadium. And that's gone. They don't play there anymore.
Right.
But playing down in Brown Stadium, we had a lot of people that showed up, and it was a good time. And so it brings back memories. Although Anderson, it's not the same old Anderson.
No, it's not.
Not at all.
Still got this though.
There you go.
Still gotta have that. But Tim, we really appreciate you joining us, man. It stinks that it took this long to get back with you and catch up, and maybe we'll have to have like a little mini reunion and get try to get Gary and Rick and all these guys and get all of us together. Just because I don't think we've ever had a reunion, have we? Maybe had one, maybe two.
Yeah, I think our organizers weren't the best. I think we've made some poor choices at our elections our senior year, and it's come back to haunt us. It would be good to catch up and just meet out for a beer. You guys keep in touch with Sully?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so do I. So maybe that's a way to, because I mean, I'm looking at the time. I mean, the time has gone by quickly because it's always fun catching up.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do that. So we'll try to keep in touch. But Tim, we really appreciate it, and I know a lot of people be excited to hear what you're up to, and it's just great catching up with you.
Yeah. All right, man. Take care, guys.
All right, thanks. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. So for Steve Ellis, Dan Alberts, and Tim Henke, you've been watching This Week in Anderson. We'll catch you next week. Have a good night, everybody.